TV, Edikanfo wa mamrem niye.
Praise be to Allah, Lord of the worlds, Master of the day of judgment. You alone we worship, you alone we ask for help. Guide us onto the straight path, the path of those on whom you have bestowed your favor, not of those who go astray, nor of those who earn your anger. Amen. Friends of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to you all. I acknowledge the presence of the Director of Communications of the NPP, the Honorable Yabuabia Samoa MP for Adenta, and I acknowledge the presence of Fatih Abubakar, Deputy Director of Communications at the Jubilee House and a spokesperson for our campaign. Thank you very much for coming to support us. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you once again to our weekly press conference. We appreciate your diligence in responding to us anytime we call upon you. We are indeed very grateful. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time under the Fourth Republic, the 2020 general election comes as the only period where a former president is contesting an incumbent. Two candidates, each of whom has experienced the presidency contest, their track record should be the basis for their electability. On the basis of track record, issues relating to good governance, impactful policy interventions, and evidence of a clear vision to change the socio-economic fortunes of the citizenry should drive the electoral decisions of voters in the impending elections. In the past 3 press conferences that we have held, we have sought to establish that between President Akufo-Addo and Mr. Mahama, President Akufo-Addo best qualifies to lead Ghana at this time. Against this backdrop, this press conference seeks to achieve 3 main objectives. 3. 1, to continue in the path of the previous 3 press conferences and to prove to Ghanaians that the new patriotic party and President Akufo-Addo are promise keepers and therefore deserve far more to do more for the Ghanaian people. Number 2, to prove to the Ghanaians that the National Democratic Congress and Mr. Mahama cannot be trusted to keep their promises, since they failed on nearly every promise they made in their 2012 manifesto. We shall show that to the NDC, manifestos are a matter of empty ritual, devoid of any sacredness. Their manifestos are observed more in their breaches than in their adherence. We shall show that whatever they intend to do this evening is mere ritual for them. Indeed, their 2016 manifesto is a rehash of their failed 2012 manifesto. They have nothing new to offer to the Ghanaian people. And 3, to prove to Ghanaians that the NPP and President Akufo-Addo offer competent leadership that drives inclusive development. Ladies and gentlemen, making the issue of track record a focus of the 2020 presidential campaign is the only means by which the electorate can scrutinize the tenures of President Akufo-Addo and Mr. Mahama and demand accountability from them. Ghanaians, the rightful custodians of the country's rich resources, have every right to demand a proper accounting of how each of the 2 leaders managed the resources they were entrusted with during their terms in office. I therefore encourage each and every one of us here and those listening from afar to consciously compare the records of President Akufo-Addo and that of Mr. Mahama. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, and I quote, "Actions are according to intentions, and every man or woman shall be judged according to what he or she intended," unquote. So we should judge President Akufo-Addo and Mr. Mahama on what they say their intention is for seeking to be president. President Akufo-Addo says he intends to continue to offer a leadership of service in order to protect the gains that the country has made so far and to transform the country for all Ghanaians. That's what President Akufo-Addo says his intention is. This is a noble intention by any standard. Mr. Mahama, on the other hand, says that he intends to come back as president in order to correct the mistakes that he made when Allah gave him the opportunity to be president, which he messed up big time. Well, even while I was pondering on what to make of his intention, I saw a response someone gave him on social media last night. That person said, and I quote, "Mr. Mahama, our votes are not correction fluids," unquote. The fellow added nothing more, and I shall add nothing more. Our sages have said that people with good intentions make promises, but it is only those with good character who keep their promises. Politically, promises will continue to feature in electoral campaigns across the globe. It will be recalled that the 2016 general elections recorded a plethora of promises, mainly from then opposition candidate Akufo-Addo. Strikingly, Akufo-Addo's promises were so bold and transformative that many people deemed them unrealistic and non-achievable, and persons such as Mr. Mahama were quick to accentuate that perception. Mr. Mahama wondered how such transformative campaign promises would be funded. Is it not surprising that as president, Mr. Mahama was clueless on how to fund those life-transforming policies, even though he had no doubt about their transformative impacts? Ironically, even in opposition, President Akufo-Addo had a clear pathway on how to fund his campaign promises. At this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, permit me to show, and indeed it is on the screens right now, to show that Mr. Mahama is no keeper of campaign promises, and that whatever he's seeking to promise this evening will come to nothing. Ladies and gentlemen, in their 2012 manifesto, they said, one, they were going to achieve an average GDP growth rate of at least 8% per annum. They failed. Achieve a single-digit rate of inflation. They failed. Achieve an overall budget deficit equivalent to 5% of GDP. They failed. Achieve gross international reserves of not less than 4 months of imports. They failed. Monetary policy will continue to emphasize low and stable inflation rates. They failed. Implement pragmatic policies that will encourage banks to reduce their lending rates and make savings products more attractive. They failed. Ensuring transparent, effective, and efficient national resource revenue management, including oil and gas revenue management. They failed. Providing tax incentives for investments in strategic businesses. They failed. Providing tax incentives to make a long-term savings products more attractive. They failed. Review and implement the national policy on early child care and development. They failed. Introduce a 1-year specialized skills kindergarten daycare training program at the various colleges of education. They failed. Eliminate the remaining 60% of identified schools under trees. They failed. I would jump, for want of time, to start from 63. Promise number 63 downwards. They say introduce instant NHIS card issuance to address the inherent challenges in the current ID management regime. They said they will procure additional ambulances for the National Ambulance Service to establish an accident evacuation service. They failed. Will establish a national pension benefit guarantee insurance to protect pension funds. They failed. Will reduce the number of pension service intermediaries for the second and third tiers. They failed. Ensure guaranteed minimum benefits of contributors. They failed. Implement Article 37(6)(b) of the 1992 Constitution, which calls for the introduction of social pensions for the elderly. They failed. Consolidate all social protecting policies and programs, including LEAP, Less Debt, etc., National Social Protection Agency. They failed. I would move again to 117. Construction of all-weather roads using steel sealing materials, chemicals in the cocoa growing areas and other rural communities. They failed. Provision of warehousing facilities and a crop financing scheme. They failed. Process at least 60% of the cocoa beans produced in Ghana. They failed. Revive the cotton board to coordinate activities in the industry and streamline the production and marketing of cotton. They failed. Development of appropriate and affordable irrigation schemes, dams, boreholes, and other waste water harvesting techniques. They failed. Irrigate 150,000 hectares of land under the Palugu multi-purpose hydroelectric scheme. They failed. I'll move to promise number 177 onwards. Review the royalties distribution formula to address the concerns of communities, chiefs, and district assemblies. They failed. Complete geological exploration in identified areas for small-scale miners to reduce the incidence of illegal small-scale mining. Galamsey. They failed. Ensure transparency in the management of extractive sector resources in compliance with the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative. They failed. Transform Galamsey operations into legitimate small-scale mining activity. They failed. I will go on to promise number 248 onwards. It says, implement the secondary free zone shared infrastructure and utility services project. They failed. Implement the secondary free zone shared, launch a Western Corridor Development Authority. They failed. Provide e-governance infrastructure, networking the presidency, the ministries, departments, and agencies to improve communications and to improve communication. They failed. Provide and rehabilitate medical facilities in military garrisons. They failed. Establish a second Field Engineers Regiment military base at Kintampo. They failed. Establish a forward operating base in the Western region. They failed. Now, out of the 280 manifesto commitments that we have here from their 2012 manifesto, NDC actually attempted tackling just about 30% of their commitments. And even so, I said attempted to tackle just about 30% of their manifesto commitments. Ladies and gentlemen, the point I'm making to you is that the NDC does not have a track record of fulfilling any manifesto commitment. And what they intend to do this evening is not going to be any different from what we have. And this would be available to you to cross-check. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, on the other hand, we have President Akufo-Addo, who promised free senior high school education. They said it was impossible. It was only possible in 20 years' time. Within 10 months of our coming into office, we implemented free senior high school. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the difference between the NDC and the NPP. What the NDC considered impossible has been implemented by the NPP with ease. The free senior high school that the NDC needed 20 years to realize was accomplished by the NPP in just 10 months. The Akufo-Addo-led administration has also kept its manifesto promise by restoring teacher trainee allowance, which was cancelled by the insensitive Mahama government. The restored allowance has since 2017 benefited over 48,000 teacher trainees. Further, the Akufo-Addo-led administration has recruited over 70,000 young men and women to provide teaching and non-teaching services across various educational institutions since 2017. Commendably, the NPP government has also undertaken some interventions in the educational sector which were not initially part of its manifesto promises. Key amongst these is government's decisions to pay salary arrears of teachers recruited under the Mahama administration who were paid just 3 months of their 3-year salary arrears. While Mahama was paying himself and his appointees monthly, these teachers, the bedrock of our country's education, taught for 3 years on empty stomachs. This underscores the insensitivity of the Mahama administration to the welfare of teachers and the gross mismanagement of the country's educational sectors. When he and his running mate, who was in charge of the education of our country, were monarchs of all they surveyed. Clearly, the NPP has a superior record of achievements in the educational sector, as interventions by the Akufo-Addo-led administration have been life transforming for millions of Ghanaians. Health. Friends of the media, the popular mantra, a healthy nation is a wealthy nation, is one that underscores the relevance of a vibrant health sector to national development. As a party that places a significant premium on health improvement, the vision of the NPP has always been to ensure that the right to health for all Ghanaians, regardless of social status or political leanings, is guaranteed through a vibrant health sector that delivers quality, affordable, and easily accessible healthcare. This was reflected in the promises made in the party's 2016 manifesto. Upon assumption of office in 2017, ladies and gentlemen, the NPP has worked assiduously to fulfill these promises, resulting in significant improvements in the health sector, as evidenced in the increase in its growth rate from 4% in 2016 to 14.1% and 22.6% in 2017 and 2018, respectively. Ladies and gentlemen, let me at this point highlight some key feats of the NPP in the health sector. First, the NPP has revived the National Health Insurance Scheme, which was at the brink of collapse, by settling the over 1.2 billion cedis debt accrued under the erstwhile Mahama administration. This has resulted in an extended health coverage for over 12 million Ghanaians, most of whom would have been denied access to healthcare due to the NDC's mismanagement of the scheme. Second, contrary to the views of critics that Nana Akufo-Addo's promise to restore allowances of nurses training was a mere political rhetoric, the allowances of over 58,000 trainees, which were hitherto scrapped under the erstwhile Mahama administration, were reinstated, with each beneficiary trainee receiving 400 cedis monthly allowance. This has gone a long way to ease the financial burden of beneficiaries. Third, in the line with President Akufo-Addo's promise of promoting healthcare delivery through an improvement in emergency healthcare, 307 ambulances were dispatched to various constituencies in the country. Prior to this intervention, only 55 public ambulances served the health needs of the estimated 30 million people in the country, translating into a ratio of 1 ambulance to an estimated 545,454 people. By increasing the total number of ambulances to 307, this ratio was significantly reduced to 1 ambulance to 82,872 people. This remains a landmark achievement of the governing NPP in the health sector. To be recalled that under the erstwhile Mahama administration, the freeze on public sector employment resulting from the mismanagement of the economy led to significant deficiencies in healthcare delivery. To this end, the Ministry of Health approved the recruitment of health professionals, resulting in the recruitment of 54,892 health professionals between the period of 2017 and 2019. The breakdown of which is as follows: 24,261 healthcare workers were recruited between January 2017 and August 2018, and another 30,631 between September 2018 and July 2019. The resulting improvement in the number of health personnel in the country significantly improved the ratio of doctors and nurses to the total population. Industrialization. The industrialization drive of the NPP is underpinned by its center-right ideology and the belief in the private sector as the engine for economic growth. As has been the case, the ruling NPP government since 2017 has pursued strategies aimed at creating an enabling environment for the private sector to thrive. Against this backdrop, the Akufo-Addo-led administration has been religiously committed to initiatives such as the One District, One Factory flagship program, which seeks to provide support for the private sector in establishing factories in all districts across the country. The National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Plan, a strategy for training and resourcing entrepreneurs and startups. And the Ghana Commodity Exchange, a scheme that provides a regulated market that connects buyers and sellers. Ladies and gentlemen, the NPP government has also revamped the West African Mills Company Limited and Anglo-Gold Ashanti in the Western and Ashanti regions respectively. It is imperative to note that these companies that employ thousands of Ghanaians collapsed under the watch of the SWAL NDC administration. How can a government superintend over the collapse of such huge companies that contributed immensely to job creation in the country? In view of the overarching aim of connecting the entire country with at least 4,000 kilometers of railway lines to ease the movement of raw materials to industrial hubs and link Ghana to other neighboring countries in the West African sub-region, government has invested over $1 billion in the railway sector, which is estimated to be worth $20 billion in the next decade. The railway value chain would also provide several employment opportunities. This is part of measures instituted to take full advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area and expedite the achievement of a Ghana beyond aid. Economy. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, you witnessed the unprecedented levels of unemployment in the country during the SWAL NDC administration, a situation that led to the formation of the Unemployed Graduates Association. However, the NPP in less than 4 years has built a resilient economy that has significantly reduced unemployment. Between 2017 and 2019, for instance, over 2 million full-time jobs were created in the public and private sectors. The Nation Builders Corps, the planting for food and jobs alone, accounted for 2,055,010 public and private sector jobs. The NPP government, realizing the havoc created by the Mahama-led NDC that has supervised a leaking revenue system, instituted prudent measures to widen the tax net to shore up the country's revenue base, which included but not limited to increasing tax compliance, reducing government expenditure, and increasing inflows from oil and gas resources. Further, the NPP introduced the tax identification number system in 2019, the excise tax stamp policy in 2017, first port rule in 2019, the e-procurement platform to digitize public sector procurement and reduce opportunities for corruption. In trying to strengthen the weak financial sector supervised by the SWAL NDC administration, the NPP introduced the financial sector reform, which rescued the banking sector and saved the funds of 4.6 million depositors, investments of 81,700 people, and 10,000 jobs. The NPP-led government, realizing the hardships on Ghanaians, abolished import duties on raw materials and machinery for production within the context of the ECOWAS Common External Tariff Protocol. Benchmark values for imported vehicles and goods were reduced by 30% and 50% respectively. Another fulfilled campaign promise that has received widespread commendation is the digitization of the economy. These include the introduction of the National Identification Card, Mobile Money Interoperability Platform, Digital Addressing System, Universal QR Code Payment System, Electricity Company of Ghana app, and paperless system in key institutions such as Births and Deaths Registry, Ports and Harbors, Ghana Revenue Authority, among others, to support our modernization and transformation agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, for 8 years, not even one of these transformative initiatives was envisioned by the NDC. Agriculture. The agriculture sector, which employs over 60% of the workforce in Ghana, was adversely affected by the incompetence and lack of policy direction of the SWAL Mahama-led administration, as evidenced by its low growth rate of 1.3% in 2012 and 2.9% in 2016. However, under the competent leadership of President Akufo-Addo, the sector recorded a significant growth rate of 4.6% in 2019. Prior to the 2016 elections, then candidate Akufo-Addo promised an improved agriculture sector underpinned by modernization, improved production, efficiency, food security, and profitability. Under the NPP-led government, Ghanaians have witnessed the efficient implementation of innovative policies such as the Planting for Food and Jobs, which has resulted in increased farmer participation from 202,000 farmers in 2017 to 1.2 million in 2019. Further, the policy has led to an increase in the national production of maize from 1.7 million metric tons in 2016 to 2.9 million metric tons in 2019, a 71% growth. Local rice production has also increased from 688,000 metric tons in 2016 to 925,000 metric tons in 2019. Now, the evidence is clear that under the Akufo-Addo-led government, Ghana is not only self-sufficient in maize production, but also exports about 19 other food items to ECOWAS countries. We will recall that in 2016, we had to even import plantain from Côte d'Ivoire. Another policy initiative of the Akufo-Addo government, which has significantly contributed to the growth of agriculture, is the One Village, One Dam initiative in the northern parts of our country. Ladies and gentlemen, under this initiative, the NPP-led government has completed 375 small F dams and 64 others nearing completion. Meanwhile, it is instructive to note that in the 2012 manifesto of the NDC, which I just proved was a massive failure, they had also said that they were going to do the same type of dams in the north. But when we said in 2016 that we were doing One Village, One Dam, they poo-pooed the idea and ridiculed the whole concept. In any event, December 7, we will find out what the people of the north say about this transformative policy that has been brought to their doorstep. This is in addition to the rehabilitation of large-scale dams such as the Tono and Kong dams. Farmers in these communities can now grow their crops regardless of the season. Contrary to the assertion of Mr. Mahama that Ghanaians have short memories, I am confident that our brothers and sisters in the north, of course including myself, will remember that it is the NPP government that is constructing the Polugu multipurpose dam, the single largest infrastructure investment in northern Ghana since independence. Upon completion, this project will contribute about 24,000 hectares of irrigable land to the current national total of 13,000 hectares. The Akufo-Addo administration has affirmed its commitment to cocoa farmers, who have been the backbone of the Ghanaian economy for several years. It is instructive to note that from 2017 to 2019, as the global market experienced major dips in free on-board prices, Ghana was the only cocoa producing country that did not reduce its producer price for farmers to reflect global trends. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, the Akufo-Addo-led administration has done better, and I mean far better, than the Mahama-led administration. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, we shall prove to the good people of Ghana that the Nana Akufo-Addo-led NPP government has managed the country better than the Mahama-led NDC administration. We shall also prove that since the Fourth Republic, successive NPP governments have on average managed the country better than successive NDC governments. These are facts supported by evidence from the World Development Indicators produced by the World Bank. I shall therefore proceed to highlight a few of such indicators to buttress my point. But before I begin, it is important to emphasize that the data used herein are credible and available on the websites of the World Bank. Our opponents are free to fact-check each claim made, but I doubt that they will. On key indicators of economic growth and development, such as GDP growth rates, GDP per capita, inflation, exports, reduction of children out of school, among others, the Akufo-Addo administration has outperformed the Mahama administration. For example, The annual 7.0% GDP growth rate under President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has been stronger than Mahama's 4.0%. The average 4.7% annual GDP per capita growth under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has been stronger than John Mahama's 1.6%. The average 14.9% annual growth rate of exports under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has been higher than John Mahama's 1.1%. President Nana Akufo-Addo has ably reduced inflation from 17.5% recorded under the Mahama administration in 2016 to meet the central bank's inflation target range of 6 to 10% in 2018 and 2019. The average 6.7% annual manufacturing value-added growth has been higher than John Mahama's 2.1%. The average 1.4% annual growth rate of trained teachers in lower secondary education has been higher than Mr. Mahama's 0.9%. For the first time in the history of Ghana, children out of school, measured as a percentage of primary school age, reduced to 0.8% under the presidency of Nana Akufo-Addo. This is lower than the 2018 average of 1.67% for OECD countries. Ladies and gentlemen, the data also reveals that on average, successive governments of the NPP have performed better in improving the living conditions of Ghanaians than successive governments under the NDC. For example, the NPP has successfully reduced unemployment at an average rate of 15.0% annually. It has performed far better than successive NDC administrations, during which unemployment has increased at an average rate of 7.3% annually. Female unemployment worsened under the NDC, increasing at an annual rate of 6.0%. It improved under the NPP, decreasing at an annual rate of 6.1%. Prevalence of undernourishment has reduced at an average annual rate of 10.3% under the NPP compared to 0.6% under the NDC. The average 3.4% annual growth rate of secondary school enrollment under the NPP has been higher than the NDC's 2.8%. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before I conclude, because I am also a minister of state, apart from being deputy national campaign manager for this campaign, for which reason I am addressing you today, as minister of state responsible for inner cities and Zongo development, I need also to add that for the first time since Ghana's independence, inner cities and Zongo communities have had a ministry established primarily for correcting the inequalities that exist between these inner cities and Zongo communities and the rest of our country. And from August 2018, when I set foot in the Ministry of Inner City and Zongo Development, to this day, following which we took steps to establish the Zongo Development Fund, recruit its staff, and get them working, there has been massive transformation across the Zongo landscape in this country. We have over 3,000 Zongo communities in Ghana alone, excluding even inner cities. It will take a visionary leader like President Akufo-Addo to recognize that we need in the next generation to aggressively tackle the development challenges of these people in these communities in order that we shall not breed the social inequalities that have led certain countries down the abyss. When we put out this idea of inner cities and Zongo development, the NDC poo-pooed it. Of course, because they have taken Zongo votes for granted since 1992. Now, they see the kind of transformation. I'm sure yesterday you all saw the news items of the hundreds of people in Kwesimintim Zongo who have defected to the NPP. That is just what has been highlighted. There are massive defections across our inner cities and Zongo communities to the NPP because the people recognize that what is important is their development, the development of their communities, and the forward movement of our country, not propaganda. Now, you will find this evening, when they launch their manifesto, that they say in their 2016 manifesto that they will maintain the Zongo Development Fund. And pathetically, they write in their 2016 manifesto that the underdevelopment in Zongo communities was caused by the Aliens Compliance Order of Professor Busia. So what caused the inequalities in the inner cities? You have been in power from 1992 to 2001, and again from 2001 to 2009. If you knew what caused the underdevelopment in Zongo communities, why didn't you tackle it? What was your answer for tackling underdevelopment in Zongo communities and inner cities? Somebody provides the vision and the answer for it, and all you are saying is that you will come, you will maintain it, and then you are trying to stoke old fires by lying about some aliens compliance order. You campaigned on this aliens compliance order from 1992 to this point. It hasn't benefited you anything. You said Npp was going to sack Zongo people when it came to power. We established a Zongo development ministry for them. So what kind of, I'm trying very hard to be as moderate as possible. It just shows a poverty of ideas on the part of the NDC. In our next press conference, we shall school them on the intellectual basis of Ghana's aliens compliance laws. But suffice it to say that the Zongo people are no longer deceived. They are no longer deceived. They see the massive transformation of the educational infrastructure in their Zongos. They see the massive transformation, the water systems that are being brought to them. They see the health facilities being renovated. They see the training of their children. For the first time, 40 Zongo youth are studying medicine in Cuba to come and be of benefit to their communities inside this country. What did the NDC do with Zongo people? You wait and then you harvest them as instruments of violence during campaign. We have said to the Zongo people, no more will they be used as instruments of violence. They also have the capacity for intellectual achievements, and therefore we will send them to Cuba, we will send them wherever. The Prophet of Islam sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, seek for knowledge even if you might travel to China. And he says again that knowledge is the lost property of every Muslim. Let them find it wherever they may. It is Akufo-Addo that has provided the opportunity for Muslims to realize this prophetic edict. In any event, every year, our Muslim brothers used to do what we Muslims call fi sabilillah in mosques to be able to send children to secondary school. Now go to our mosques across the country and see. There's no longer fi sabilillah for school fees, thanks to President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. So, you said free SHS was not possible. We have done it. You say when you come, you will maintain it. You cancelled teacher trainee allowance. We said we will restore it. We restored it. Now you say you will maintain it. You cancelled nurses trainee allowance. We have brought it back. You said you will maintain it. You said Zongo Development Fund was rubbish. We have instituted it. You say you will maintain it. I said it in Tamale, and let me repeat it. In this election, we are not looking for a maintenance officer. We are looking for a transformative leader for our country. Ladies and gentlemen, through this press conference, we have demonstrated to you that whereas the NPP has significantly transformed the lives of Ghanaians through the implementation of impactful policies, the NDC has proven to be incompetent at introducing life-changing policies, let alone implement them successfully. Whereas President Nana Akufo-Addo, in less than 4 years, has proven to be a promise keeper through competent and decisive leadership, John Mahama has demonstrated that he lacks the credibility required to fulfill promises he makes to Ghanaians. On the basis of the above, I want Mr. Mahama to tell Ghanaians what he wants to do in the next 4 years. I've already said that I agree with the person who said on social media that our votes are not correction fluids. So what does he want to do in the next 4 years that he could not do in his 8 years that he was vice president and president? Fellow Ghanaians, the choice in December should be a leader who has a clear vision for the country, demonstrable integrity, courage, decisiveness, and the passion to position Ghana beyond aid while enhancing the dignity of the Ghanaian. That choice can be none but the promise keeper, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Thank you for your attention. May God bless our homeland, Ghana.
Royal TV, and Dikanfo wa mamrem ne ye.